Alpha 300 TT25 was announced either today or yesterday, depending on when this podcast comes out.
You can be loud about that. I'm sure people will want to know about it.
Yeah. So we're going to try and make this podcast not just like a boring buy from us, this is the best thing ever podcast about why you should buy a 300 and a TT25, but
you should, but that's not what we're trying to convince you.
That might be what it turns into. I don't know if that's what's gonna. It's not my intention. We don't necessarily.
Keep it reined in.
Yeah, like get a little.
Only available at W Hunting Spot.
I was calling the antenna list. We went back and called every single person that bought an antenna, one of the colorful antennas, not the green ones, not our Toughskins, but the noodle type. If you listen to the podcast earlier or whatever, the noodle type, we called every single person. And at the end of that, if I was a really good salesman like you, I think
you would have done what I did.
You were like, hey, well, I got you on the phone. Do you need anything? I was too hard-headed that I was like, nope, I'm not offering to sell them anything else. I was like, by principle, I was not going to ask somebody if they, because there was I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy that's like, I got you on the phone. Do you want to buy anything else?
Hey, I didn't either. That's not how it went down.
That's what it looked like, Jason. Looking at your orders compared to my orders, it was always something on your orders.
People
on
like
mine,
me.
it was just free antennas. There was no. I didn't give them the option. I was like, have a good day, bye.
No, the question was, is there anything else I can help you with? And along the lines with my favorite drinking game, while I have you on the phone, was the common sentence. And then it just rolled from there. I don't know what happened.
I had a couple people that forced me to add something to their order. I mean, I had to twist my hand. They're like, well, I got you on the phone. I need to get the and I was thinking, all right, I'll take the extra money. I mean,
it was free shipping for them.
Don't get me wrong. I was happy to do it. I just am uncomfortable in my skin being a salesman. So anyways, it's funny because I was like, by principle, I'm like, I'm not going to ask. And I can tell you're so used to it. You're just like, oh yeah, anything else? It's natural, and customers probably appreciate the fact that you ask them, and I don't. You know what I mean? They're probably like, that jerk didn't even ask me if there was anything he could do. He just gave me some free antennas and said, get the hell out of here.
I swear, I didn't twist anybody's arm into it.
Oh, I don't think you did.
Those were not sales calls, but that was a lot of phone calls. Holy cow.
A lot. I got one yesterday. The guy called back like 2 weeks later. He goes, you tried to go. I'm like, still getting a few trickling in. So most of them are all replaced. But anyways, to keep talking about an old topic, let's move on to the new topic and let's make this podcast boring. Let's just flip the switch and go back. Let's go straight to boring, Jason. Just so the listeners know.
100-0 real fast.
I told Jason, I was like, I want Jason to kind of drive it a little bit because it's a really hard topic sometimes to talk about when, like, it's awkward.
Sworn to secrecy for
like for so long you've been sworn to secrecy. It's like so I'm gonna have these things where I'm like, can I say that? Can I not say that? You know what I mean? It feels awkward, and it's like that this is coming out after the announcement date, and so we're gonna try and structure it. I asked Jason to kind of build a quasi list that he's gonna ask me questions or whatever, and when we can kind of dive in, and I don't know. Hopefully it's not stupid, but I mean, there's plenty of people who think our podcast is stupid.
There's good information. You just might have to look for it a little harder.
Yeah, exactly. So dive on in, Jason. Start selling.
With the caller.
Why don't you start selling it? Jason's the seller.
Dude, don't make me sales pitch it now. Now I'm self-conscious about it. I think before we should. I got one more thing before we go into
one
the
more
product.
thing. Okay.
So long-term outlook, because I feel like the new product is directly related to this for the TT15X and the mini collars.
Oh,
what are we looking at long-term? Can you give like the back history at this point? Are we past statute of limitations? Like,
it's getting hot in here. Hold on, let me take my headset off. I gotta take my sweatshirt off. Hold on.
You guys can thank me later. He did that with his hat on. I'm like extremely impressed.
That is probably not podcasting etiquette to do that.
I don't know how you did it and didn't flip your hat off. That was pretty impressive.
My hat, I sleep with the hat on, dude.
I do too.
My hat stays on the whole time.
You've seen me roll out from under a truck at a field trial. I got a hat on when I wake up.
Yeah. I go to the barber shop, get my hair cut, and they're like, do you want your, you're like, yes, the hat's
Half
going
price.
back on. You can cut below the hat, and I'm okay with that. Like, the hat's going to be on almost all the time.
Oh.
Apparently, my wife, because I do take my hat off at night, and apparently, for me, I look at myself in the mirror and go, holy shit, I don't got a hat on. I got no hair left, and my family's already used to it. I'm like, okay, this is what I look like. I'm not used to it yet, but
they hand me my hat. If I take my hat off, the baby will come around and try to hand it to me like Dad's just standard equipment. It's a hat with glasses of some form on top.
Oh,
we're derailing, man.
Yes, we lost it.
No, we didn't lose it yet because I'm driving this thing.
Okay, let's get back.
Feet
so you're asking
TT15X minis.
So you want to know about what do I think is going to happen with the 15? So we got this new product, and there's a lot of people that have the 15X collars, and they're probably going, "What the heck?" I think so. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble right out the gate on this one. The X collar, I don't think was ever a plan on Garmin's roadmap. So, and what I mean by that is the X was kind of like an oh shit moment with COVID.
A big one.
Yeah. So I think in looking back, you gotta look back in the history of, the things, but COVID disrupted the supply chain. And so we weren't going to have any collars. Like, we weren't going to be able to get
none.
Like, no 15s. You know what I mean? I think Garmin was going to be like, dude, we're not going to have collars for like 9 months or something. Some crazy number that the supply chain was so screwed up that they couldn't get whatever it was in this part to build. They couldn't get it. And so the X was using the parts they did have here and some parts from new stuff here and put them together to make the X. And I don't think the goal was to get better battery life, but that's what happened. When they did this old big battery with the new faster software or whatever, they paired those together and it was like, wow, really good battery life, right? Because this stuff sipped battery power, and the old one, was used to like drinking out of the guzzle. And so you put this old big battery with the supercharged little computer. So you got this 5-day battery life, which was awesome. And I remember telling Garmin, I'm like, if you do this, you can't go back. Like if you give us this,
yeah, right,
don't take it away. I was like, we're going to expect that bad. You know what I mean? Like,
especially
don't tell
not
us you
after
can
a
do
year.
this. Yeah,
right?
after a while.
I mean, they've been out a year.
So anyways, and there's been a ton. So I haven't had a ton of issues with the X collars. I'm just gonna be honest. I've had some. I've had an issue with the light where there was a software issue where if you toned a dog while it was barking with this certain software, the flashing light would just stop flashing. And that was one of the issues that I think a lot of people had, where it looked like the collar was off and wouldn't turn on. And in fact, the collar was still on, but it was just, there was absolutely no lights going on. And the weird thing was, it looked like the collar's off, and you push the button, it would tone the collar. It's like, oh, the collar's toning.
That call
it's tracking. It's doing all this stuff. And so that was one. There's just one of a few issues that happened. And there's always software issues with new products. So I'm picking on that one. But a lot of the product in the beginning was, and again, Garmin doesn't tell me directly the details, but I just know nuggets of information. I know what we've kind of, and I'm kind of smart enough to put the pieces together, but it's like pairing the new stuff with the old battery is where a majority of the problems came with the X collars, right? In the early days, it was like overcharging. It was doing a bunch of different things that they had to really crank down on the software to get that charging two batteries to mate up an old battery with new stuff. So it took a lot of finessing and fine tuning to do that. And I think for the most part, if we had to live with the X collars, I think for the most part we're through the problems. I won't say through all the problems, but
don't ever say that.
I think
they've been
we're
a lot
through the
more
rough
solid.
of it. Like the first couple months was miserable. Like, if you think it was bad that you had a couple X collars fail on you, we think it was really bad because we had a high percentage of returns, and it cost us a ton of money to ship out new stuff and keep stuff replacing, and then you send that one out and that failed. It was just it was a zoo. I'm not going to lie. It was a screwed up zoo. And it's easy to blame Garmin, but at the end of the day, my question is would you rather not have collars for 9 months? Have nothing, period, zero. If you called us and we're like, sorry, we don't have anything, nothing. Here's a bell. You know what I mean? Like, we got a long range bell you can run.
Yeah, no kidding.
Or, so anyways, I'm going to get off this topic, but my TT15X collars, it happened quick, meaning from the time the concept to the time they launched, they were doing it to fix a problem, which was the COVID distribution supply chain issue. So collars were in customers' hands probably sooner than Garmin really wanted. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they were launching to release for money. I can tell you right now, it was money because they needed something to
stop
sell.
the bleeding.
But beyond that, it was like, Garmin has billions in the bank. They could have waited a couple months and been like, sorry, we don't have any collars. So they were really trying to help guys out by getting something to people so that they can continue to track dogs. So when you look at it with that lens, I'm just going to give a little bit of cover to Garmin. I'm like, hey, the 15X collars, not a lot of cover. I'm like, please don't do that again. You know what I mean? There's several of us that were like, please don't ever do that again. But in the grand scheme of things, if the answer was we don't have collars for 9 months, or we're going to try and make this work and get this problem fixed, I'll take some ups and downs, and the X collars in that scale, when you look at it with those lenses, great. Yeah. Now, with that said, they were not a product that Garmin had well thought out of, and on the scheme of things, it wasn't like we're going to do a 15, and then we're going to do an X, and then we're going to do the 25. Like, the X were not there on the roadmap. They were going to go from the 15 to the 25, and this X problem was something that they had happened that they're like, we got to fix it. So if I was looking long-term, if you want a long-term solution, I'm switching to the 25s, hands down. With what I know and the issues that I've seen with the X collar and what I think is going to happen long-term, I think the 25s, if I fast forward and predicted 4 years, 5 years from now, I'm guessing the 25s are going to be like that 15, where it's a long-term product.
Right.
I don't know if the X collars will be around in 4 or 5 years. Like, I don't know if there's a need to have an X collar and a 25 with what we know. And we'll talk about the 25s forward. You know what I mean? So we're going to sell both TT15 X collars, which have 5 days battery life, really good battery life. We're going to sell TT25 collars, which have a little bit less battery life than the X collars, but more battery life than a full-size TT15. And you're going to have the ability to buy a battery to make it last as long as an X collar. So we'll get into that, but I guess that's the long-winded answer to your question, Jason.
No, that's good, because I think guys looking forward, it is a big investment. Price points went up with the X's. So
prices go up. If a guy's going to ask me, if you're going to call me, the only thing you want to know is, should you buy a TT15 X collar or a TT25? I'm probably going to lean you towards the 25, hands down. And the short reasons are, if you don't listen to the rest of this podcast, it's going to have really good battery life. Out of the box, it's going to be it's like 68 hours with dynamic mode, which is we're 42 hours for a full-size TT15, non-X, not the X, but we're about 42, 44 hours with the TT15 collar, the full size. We're going to see 68 hours, 60, I'll say 60 just to drop a couple hours, right? 60 hours with the TT25. Now, the TT15X collar was getting about 90 to I don't know. I got about 5 days. What is that? 5 days times 20 is 120 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
So let's just between 100 and 120 hours is what you got on the X collars. So if that distance of an extra 50 hours is really important to you for the price of same price, so if we just talk $350 for each collar, the X collar is going to get 40 more hours. You're going to get 1.5 extra days
Out of the box.
out of the box. Now you can buy an extra battery for the TT25 for $100 is what I think it's going to list for, and that may change by if you listen to this podcast. Who knows what's going to go to our website and see what it's running. But right now, as it's going to launch, it's $100. You slide a new battery on there, and now you have a collar that there's no reason. So if at $450, there's no reason to buy a TT15X collar, except for saving $100. So that's
in the short game. I mean, really, you save $100 and you buy a product that is a short-lived.
Yeah. So on paper, a guy's going to go, why would Buddy recommend the TT25? You know what I mean? Like on paper, you're going to be like, well, you get better battery life. It's the same price. I don't need the smaller factor. So here's where, and we'll talk about the differences, but the 25, I think, is going to be a long-term product. So if you fast forward 4 years, I think we'll still be selling the 25s. You know what I mean?
As a new product.
As a new product. So, which means we'll still have parts for the 25s. We'll still have batteries for the 25s. We'll still have everything you need to get repaired for the 25s. And let's say that in 5 years they come out with a TT30 or whatever the new one is, right? Garmin generally likes to do a product 5 years, support a product 5 years after they discontinue it. So in 5 years, if they discontinue the 25, realistically, we should get parts for another 5 to 10 years on those. So you should be able to, these 25s that you buy today, you should be able to service for at least 8 to 15 years. I don't know. Like I'm predicting the future, which I'm not good at, but I don't know that that's going to happen. When I look at the history of the DC50, I look, you know what I mean? Like if I just look at behind us, you know what I mean? Try to look behind us and go, how long am I going to be able to service a TT15X collar? I predict, and again, I do not have any information from Garmin on this. I predict 5 years we're going to start having difficulty getting TT15Xs repaired. Maybe 6, maybe 7. If COVID happens, maybe it's 3. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's 3. I think 3 is a scare tactic. I'm not going to tell you 3 because I don't want to scare you into buying the 25s. I think we're going to get several years, but I don't think we're going to get 10. I don't think we're going to get 20. If I had to bet on it, I think we're going to get a long time on the TT25s. I think serviceability of a TT25 is going to be a lot more than serviceability on a 15 or a 15X.
Yeah.
And so at the same price, I think, and the second thing is if you break a GPS chip on a 25, we can send you the parts to replace it for $50.
Which is a huge, don't skim over that. That's a huge thing I know for a lot of the customers.
Yeah. So we can get into some of the features and talk about why. And I think now would probably be a good jumping point. The first thing is the parts. Like the GPS piece on top of the dog, it's 2 screws and the thing pops off, and we'll be able to sell replacement little GPS antenna, not the long skinny antenna. We sell those too.
Like the rubber strap GPS.
If
the part that always breaks on a TT15.
The part that can you replace that? I'm like, no, because it's soldered onto the board. So the TT15X, breaks $185 to get it replaced.
Yep.
A TT25 breaks $50. You can replace it at home. You know what I mean?
Like a DC30 for the old.
Yes,
old
like a DC30,
similar.
but much better. Like replacing a DC30, you had that little tiny MCX connector.
Yeah.
You had to slide it off. You had to slide it on really careful, and Dude, a lot of guys broke the pins on those and smashed the shit out of them. When they put them together,
Oh,
they'd
yeah.
smash them down
I
and
was
break
that
them.
guy.
We get these things and we look at them like, who in the hell? Whose fat fingers trying to fix this thing, man? With the T25s, 2 screws, and they've really built it like an alignment and like a pogo pin. So it's not like it's a pin that can get damaged. It's like it's a flat thing that just mashes and it's like a spring loaded kind of connection.
Oh, like a plate kind of?
Yeah, it's like a plate, and then one has a pogo pin, and so whenever it goes in there, it can only go in one way, and you just go down, put the screws in, and that pogo pin style just makes the connection. So there's no more of these connectors that you got to slide on and get them perfectly lined up. I'm sure Hound guys will find a way to screw this up.
We'll find a way to break those. I guarantee you.
Find some way. I'll strip the screws out. We're gonna do something wrong. I can promise you something.
Right.
Something that. But on the big scheme of things, when I look at it compared to the old days of the DC30s, much better. So there's one of my favorite features. That's configurable. You can replace that GPS piece. There's also
with one
shorter
of 2 part numbers, right?
three part numbers.
Explain those.
So anyways, you can break them and you can replace them when they're broken, right? But the other thing is, if you know the mini collar and the full size collar, one has a shorter GPS chip to fit around the small dogs, and then the other has the GPS thing that goes further around. So you can change. If you have small beagles and you want the short GPS one, you can buy a short, I don't know what they call it, but
GPS strap.
Yeah, short GPS piece. Again, it's $50, and you 2 screws. You pop it on there. So like Sadie, I have her running the short one because she's a little small neck, and it works really good. It doesn't work quite as good as the other one on a big dog because the antenna's pointed down, but I haven't seen any GPS loss. It's not like the DC40 days where we had issues. Like much better. So there's a short one that makes the collar like a mini collar. There's the longer one that makes it like a regular full-size collar. And then the third option is going to be what they call a rugged something. It's a rugged one, which it has a reinforced wire that goes in there. So like the hog hunters and stuff like that cut those wires a lot, you can get a more ruggedized one that can take some more abuse. And I think it's going to be like $79 for the rugged one.
That's
and
cool,
it's
though.
$50 for the other ones. So that's awesome. That if you break that piece, $50 you can replace that piece. $79 you can replace it with a better piece.
Well, and it gives the Beagle and Feist and Kerr guys another option, because with all the mini issues that we've been having for last year and a half, like it's kind of a one product will fit both needs.
Yeah. So I kind of feel obligated to go into the cons on this one.
You should.
The cons, as of the way it's launching right now, the collars come with the regular strap or the regular piece. Basically the full size collar. If you need the mini collar, you've got to buy the extra mini piece. So out of the gate, you're going to be spending $350, and then you're going to have to put this short GPS piece for $50 and swap them out. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know. Like we would. I don't want a bunch of SKUs. Like my ideal, there's several of us that are like, just sell us the pieces and let us build the collar you want. Like we don't want a mini SKU, a full size SKU, a rugged SKU. We don't want 6 different configurations of collars that people got to try and buy.
Send us the base unit and the pieces, and we'll build the order.
That would be awesome for us to be like, hey, you pick your base, you pick your GPS piece, and you pick your battery. Regular battery, extended life battery, and it'd be nice for us to just build them all a cart. You know what I mean? And be like, hey, just let us build the collar for the customer the way they want it.
Right.
So that portion of it, I'm not going to lie. I don't know the answer. There's a SKU problem. There's a confusion problem. But at the end of the day, if you just want the standard collar, you're going to be great. If you want the extra battery, you're going to be $100 more. If you want the extended life battery. If you want the short GPS puck piece, you're going to be $50 more. So you're going to be instead of $350, you're going to be a $400 collar. So that's going to rub some people the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like who have been used to buying the mini or the full size. Oh, yeah. And I'm not going to say that the jury's out on if that's going to change in the future with Garmin. Like Garmin may reconfigure these to offer 2 SKUs, a mini SKU, a full size SKU. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's bean counters up there that make those decisions. I know what I recommend is I would, if they came to me and said, buddy, you own the decision, I would say, I want a la carte. I want the base. I want the user to pick which GPS piece they want, and I want the user to pick which battery they want. And heck, I'll even offer to assemble them for $10. You know what I mean? Or $20, whatever. Right. I can send you the pieces. You can assemble at home, or you can give me $20 and I'll throw them together and put the 6 screws in. 8 screws that it would take. But I doubt we'll get to that. But
right.
That would be awesome if we could get to that. That's what my vote would be for is a la carte. Let customers build them from the ground up the way they want. Don't spend the extra money on the GPS pieces that they don't want. You know what I mean? So you could, maybe instead of $100 for an extra extended life battery, maybe it's $70, or $50, or I don't know. Maybe you could Garmin. Yeah. Anyways, that's the downside. I'll just tell you right now. There's going to be a downside that, and people are going to, I'll be honest, people are going to be like, Garmin's just doing it for money, and that's not the reason. It really is a SKU problem of, well, if they do this, then do they got to make the mini version with the extended life battery? Do they got to make it without the extended life battery? Do they got to make the full size with the extended life battery? It quickly turns into, well, we go from one product to 5 products.
Yeah.
And I don't want 5 products on my shelf. I want 1. I want 2. Maybe I probably want 2. If they had to do SKUs, I'd do a mini and I'd do a full size with extended life battery. That's what I would do. If it were my decision, I'd be like, okay, give me 2 SKUs. Give me a mini collar for the Beagles with the short GPS, and give me a large collar with the extended life battery, even if it costs a little bit more. Full size dogs come with the extended life battery. The mini dogs come with the short GPS puck. And if guys want to switch it from there, they can. I mean, legitimately, I could easily sell the extended life battery more than the other one. So I think we talked on that topic enough. I'm probably starting to circle.
So the only con, people, I mean, really, that you can find with it so far?
Con. Yeah, I think that's the price. By making it more configurable, it easily makes it more. It costs more. You know what I mean? Because you can put on a battery. So now you got a 450 collar. So let's say a guy wanted to put on the extended life battery and the ruggedized GPS piece. Let's say it's a hog guy, right? So you're gonna be $350 for the collar. You're gonna put the extended life battery on, so that's $100. You're gonna take the old battery off. You're gonna throw it in the trash or try to sell it, but you probably won't sell it for a while. So now you're at $450, and you're gonna be like, oh, I want the ruggedized GPS puck. So that's another $80. So now I'm at $530, and I pulled 2 parts off that I got. So now I got a $530 collar. I mean, guys are gonna bitch about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but if you know what I mean, like it is what it is. Like,
how many guys send in refurbs though for busted GPS wires once a year?
Right.
At 185 a whack. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, for the guys that are out there, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I classify it in 2 different ways. There's the guys that are making a living using these collars. The guys that are more than get out once, twice a week. Yeah. They're in the woods every day.
Yeah.
Like, this is a for sure thing. I would recommend going this way because in the long term, there's no lose.
If you got the money and you want the best of the best, for $530, we'll send you the best collar we can build. Like, that's expensive. Don't complain about it, but that would be a ruggedized GPS piece, an extended life battery, and that's not what I'm recommending. Like, what I would recommend if you're a hog guy or whatever, take them and run them, and when that GPS part gets broken or cut, when you can choose to upgrade then, because you got to buy a $50 part. So then $30 more for a heavier duty piece. That's when it makes sense.
Right.
I don't think it makes sense to like build these things like this out of the box. Like,
sure,
you're gonna. So, anyways, like, yes, the price point. There's Garmin's gonna take some heat for that. Some of it's, Garmin's a company, they want to make profit. But the other part of it is the logistics of it. It's like, yeah, because if they did this, man, we'd have so many SKUs. And stuff sits on the shelf for a while, and it's like, oh, I want this one, but I don't have that one. So, again,
benefits.
A la carte would be the way to go, man. A la carte, you could build those colors for an extra $100. You can get the best, but Garmin's probably not going to do that. I don't think they will.
But it's not like they took the old collar and just, are bumping prices. You're getting more with it. Like, so I do want to hit on some of the new key features.
Let's move on.
And start
before I piss Garmin off too much.
Yeah, right. Don't make them too mad.
Are you trying to sell these or are you not, buddy? You don't sound like you're trying to sell them very good. No. So let's go to the thing. So what do you want to talk about next?
I want to start with collar Wi-Fi because I think that was a feature with the 200s that people really liked. So can you explain how this is going to work? Because there's some tricks to it, right?
Hopefully it gets better.
Garmin's still listening, buddy.
I know. This is the hard part about doing a podcast. I'm like, I'm honest. I'm going to tell you what. I just recently tried to get all my Wi-Fi hooked up to my collars because I was like, oh, this is nice. So I think it'll get better. I submitted some feedback to Garmin, but right now you connect the collars to the Wi-Fi. And so you go into the dog and you say, connect Wi-Fi, and you see the networks. And you say, I want to connect it to the W Wi-Fi, and then it asks you for the password. And so you type in the Wi-Fi password, and that collar gets connected, and now it will automatically update the software. It'll check for software updates. When that happens,
criteria.
Yeah, so you have to have it on a charger. I think it's like 20 or 25 minutes. And then it's going to go, oh, I got enough battery. I can go check for updates on the software. So it's not like it just checks automatically. But when it's on charge at the 25 or 25 minutes, there's some time of after it's charged for a certain amount of time, it's going to go, hey, let me get on the internet and see if I have any updates for the collar. That's awesome. Like the fact that for guys, it's going to fix a lot of problems. They don't have to get hassle of hooking up to a computer, blah, 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 blah. That's great.
Yeah.
My email to Garmin was why can't you share the Wi-Fi password to the collars? Like, so I've got my 300. It has the Wi-Fi password for W. When I connect the collar password, it should just transfer that password over to the collar and get it connected. But when you do 5 collars, you got to type in the password 5 times. That's my first pain point. I hope that's fixed. I hope it's fixed before it's launched. And so whenever Garmin over there is like, oh yeah, buddy, your podcast is outdated. We already fixed that.
Outdated.
Yeah, I hope that happens. As of this podcast, it works good, but that is a pain point. When you first set up everything, man, if you got 20 dogs, you're typing in that password 20 times. And I'm like, there's no need. Like, come on, we can do better than that. The second point that I hope improves a little bit on the Wi-Fi is once you connect it, you can't really see or tell that it's connected. So
you just trust it.
It's like Jason showing up to work. I don't have a camera.
Really
I don't have a camera to see if Jason's really logging in at 7:30.
Right.
And I'm too scared to ask him to send an email every morning at 7:29 to be like, "Are you at your desk?" But I did call you at like 7:27 and you didn't answer your phone this morning.
I was on the other line this morning. That was legit.
Anyways, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like you just got to trust that it's connected up.
Right.
I would like to see some kind of trigger or something that I could go back and check and go, oh, yep, it's connected. Oh,
or force a check like in the inReach.
Something, and again, that was some feedback I gave to Garmin. Maybe I doubt that will be on the first software update, but I'm hoping. Again, I think this is going to be a long-term product. I think at some point, this is a mute point we're talking about. I think this stuff will be fixed.
Yeah,
maybe. I think so. So, Wi-Fi, awesome. the key points of it, collar automatically updates. It will, after it's been plugged in for a certain amount of time, again, don't quote me, but 20 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in there, it's hooked up to the charger, and it only does it while it's on the charger. It'll look and sync, and I did it, and it literally, I had it on my desk, I plugged it in, and I watched it. I don't know what it was doing. The light was red or something, and I watched it flash. And I think it flashed white. Damn it, I don't remember.
For updates.
See, this is bad about having memory. I can't remember what color the light went, but I
Just
remember.
tell everybody you're colorblind and you can get away with it.
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was white. It switched over to a white light while it was loading the software or working on the network, and so it hooked up to Wi-Fi. So maybe. Again, I could be talking on my ass, Jason.
That's all right. We got editors. It's okay.
We're not
I just know
editing
that
it,
was.
man. We're
I
rolling
think
with it. I want to say it turned the white light.
The way it's intended, that's going to be huge because still all these years later, I inevitably get the phone calls that say, "Oh, you have to update the collars too."
Right.
Like that's a new thing. Like it's been that way for a dozen years.
Yeah. Yep.
But
there you go.
I think that's a cool feature. The other one that I saw, because I don't understand what this is yet, because I haven't been lucky enough to see it. What is a dynamic tracking? Because that's like a term that I feel like
dynamic update rate.
Okay.
So that's the way that Garmin is getting more battery life, and so I like it. I've run it. I haven't seen a reason not to run it. But here's the theory in battery life, right? If your dog lays under a tree to take a nap, or is treed for that matter, right? Do you need the device to tell you the same exact thing every 2.5 seconds?
No.
Like, hey, I'm treed in this spot. Hey, I'm still treed in this spot. Hey, I'm still treed in this spot.
Sure.
Hey, by the way, did you know I'm still treed in this spot? Just want to make sure.
Never mind, not treed anymore.
Just want to make sure you know that I'm freaking treed right in this spot every 2.5 seconds, using battery to do that, to tell you. Hey, by the way, I'm treed in this spot, and I'm using battery to do that, right?
Sure.
So what Garmin's kind of doing with this dynamic mode is saying, hey, I'm treed in this spot. I don't need to tell you.
Like after it's seen it stay stationary.
Maybe,
for so long.
and then it's like, okay, 30 seconds later, it's going to go, hey, just by the way, I'm still treed over here. Don't forget about me. You know what I mean? So you saved how many 2.5 how many 2.5 second periods are in a 30-second deal? So 15?
Less than 15. It's like 13,
so let's say
12.
it cost, we'll just put it in layman's terms. Let's say it cost $1 every time you send a message. It doesn't, just so you know, but let's just pretend.
That's on the next model.
Exactly. On the next model. Garmin's gonna be like, everybody's listening. It's like, buddy, shut the hell up.
Don't give them any ideas, buddy.
You're pissing Garmin off, and now you're telling them how to make more money. Okay, but for the sake of conversation, right? Because to do that, it costs something. So it costs battery life. But it's hard to tell you, okay, it's going to cost 0.0002 milliamps of battery or whatever power, blah, 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 whatever. You want to talk smart, Gus? I can't think that way. But we can think in dollar bills, okay? So let's just exaggerate. And let's say every time you got a signal from the caller, it cost you $1, okay? So you have let's say you got $1,000 in your bank account. That's your battery life, right? You got $1,000 in that bank before you can recharge it. You can go plug it in, charge it up, get your $1,000, but that's what you got. So do you want your caller every 2.5 seconds pulling $1 out to be like, hey, I'm just collect them.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. $1, $2,
$dollar.
Right. So in that, you know what I mean? Every 2.5 seconds, I'll be like, shut the hell up. Don't tell me again to get out of my dollar bills. Keep my dollar bills in my bank account. And every 30 seconds, you know what I mean? I do want to check in, you know what I mean? So I don't want it to be like, hey, don't, check in every hour, you know what I mean? Or 2 hours. I don't want it that long. Right. But I don't need 2.5 seconds, right? So it's Garmin's way of saying, I'm running a race. I'm chasing this thing. And I moved. And I'm over here. $1. I'm over here, $1. I'm over here, $1. I'm over here, $1. Boom. I'm in the same spot. You that ain't worth $1 to me no more. You know what I mean? Like,
so I mean, for people listening,
Yeah.
If you're trailing and you're trying to use that as a tool to watch your dogs, it's not like it's going to say, no, the dog's running. It's a jumped race. You know, you're up and going, but we're
It's
going to
giving
cut
you-
your update rates back. It's going to
Nope.
keep that. The faster your race or the more movement, the
Yes.
faster the update rate.
It's going to go, do I have different information? If I got different information, if I got a different location, if I got a different position, if I got, you know, the caller's like, oh, I could send something different. I'll send it. If it's like, this is the same information I had 2.5 seconds ago, why would I spend the $1 to send this when I can wait 15 seconds, 20 seconds? You know what I mean? If it slowed it down to 30, let's just say, for the sake of time, just 30 seconds, okay? You would send out $15, you know, every 2.5 seconds, $15. Boom. So that's roughly $15. Let's, you know, maybe whatever. Every 2 seconds, because I can't do the math at 2.5. But
there you go.
Every 2 seconds, $15 in that 30-second period of time for you to tell me the exact same thing, which is, hey, I'm treed over here in this location. So $15 to say the same thing 15 times in a row for 30 seconds. Or $2 to say, hey, I'm here. And then 30 seconds later to be like, hey, by the way, I'm still over here.
Still here.
You know what I mean? So that's where you're getting your battery life extended, is it's not sending duplicate information and wasting your battery life. In our case, we're talking about dollar bills, but we're not wasting those dollars, those batteries, those situations for things that are useless. Like, again, you know, like I think I've drilled that point home. Is there any argument to that? I rest my case.
What about the, I mean, they changed the overall, it's not the same housing, like a TT15X was pretty much identical to the TT15.
Yeah.
This is different, right? Different charger.
Yep, different chargers. Not fully sold on the charging clips. I kind of think
they're the only ones out there. You don't have to be sold on it. It comes.
Yeah, there's no choice. But let's talk about that secondary. So I guess we'll talk charging real quick. There's 4 pins. They're a little bit exposed. People are gonna wonder if metal touches those, if it's gonna short, whatever. Garmin had some issues with the TT10s back in the day where metal collars touched them. I can't fathom for a second that Garmin hasn't tried to short the crap out of those things to make sure they don't turn off or do anything weird. So I'm fairly confident in that ability, but I'm not confident enough to say 100%, but you know, I'm not worried about that. The charging clip, 2 things. It's a lot smaller. It's a USB-C connector to it, which is nice. My biggest frustration with the charging clip is the extended life battery charging clips are black and about 10 millimeters to 5 millimeters longer than the regular charging clips. They look exactly the same. So if you're running extended life batteries and standard batteries, it's going to be difficult to just grab a clip and go, oh, they look way too similar. I wish they would have changed the color or did something. That's there.
Those clips come with the updated, like the upgraded battery.
Yeah,
so it's not an additional purchase.
Dude, I've already lost mine. I can't find my extended life clip. So right now, I literally have to tape my charger. So I had to cut off a little clip because it kind of clips around the collar. You know what I mean? Where it holds in place. I literally had to like take my knife and cut off one of the clips. And so I hooked the first one. It's because it lines the pins up. And then I tape electrical tape and I tape it around. And then I got to fidget and make sure it makes good connection. And I set it on my desk and charge it. Because I can't get the extended life. And Garmin doesn't have an extra one to send me right now. So
not yet.
It's like some redneck shit. But I just lost that one clip. And it's like, so that's a pain point. Even if I do find it, it looks so close that I almost have to measure it. Yeah, I will if I see it. I'm gonna paint it or something.
Yeah.
But if you seen 2 laying on the desk, you wouldn't easily identify that's an extended life battery clip and that's a standard battery clip. So that's going to be a little frustrating point, but much easier. You know, I don't want to say it's better than the TT15 clips, but there's no issues with it. I haven't found any charging issues or anything like that. The casing in general is rounded edges. So like the TT15 minis, you know what I mean? And they did that for the small, short-legged beagles, right? Because the 15s would hit the front legs of the beagles, and it would hurt them. You know, it would hurt their dog's legs when the beagle legs hit the full-size collars. So on the mini collars, they rounded the edges and made it a little bit smaller and tighter, and so that it didn't hit the beagle's legs. That's the model that they went with. There's no need to have, there's no need to have the full-size collar. Like,
Right.
literally, the smaller backs.
The housing to be universal, and then your strap is now.
Yeah. If you want the full size, you can get an extended life battery. Just makes it a little bit bigger. You're done. You get everything you need. There's no need to go with a bigger. It's like lugging around a truck battery. Like, we don't need to lug a big thing around. So, the lights is a big thing on these collars. The lights
Like
are on
tracers.
the corners of the collar. So, like on the TT15s and the minis, think of it like a old headlight. You know, like I was explaining to Bradley, I was like, you think like a Mustang or one of them old cars, the headlights were in the very front, right? So when you drove, when a Mustang crossed the front of you and crossed the road in front of you, you didn't have side light markers. You didn't have these markers on the side as easy. Unless the car's coming directly at you, you didn't see the headlights for the most part, right? Because they were pointed forward. That's how I would describe the TT15, the TT15X, and the TT15 Mini. The little white light tracers that I don't really use, but some people do, they shine forward.
Crap out of them.
You know what I mean? So you use them, then you know.
Yeah.
When the dog turns at you, you're like,
When
oh,
they're
there they are.
trailing, they're useless.
But then when they turn away from you, it's really hard to see the dogs, right? You can't see that light unless you just see the brush light up in front of them or something. You're like, oh, there's something up there because the brush is lighting up.
Right.
But once they turn towards you, you're like, oh, there they are. You can see you see a long ways away. You see those lights.
Yeah.
Right. With the T25s and the TT25s and the T20s, the lights are on the corner of the housing, so they shine both forward and sideways. Right. So if the dog's trailing across a hillside and it's not facing directly towards you, you'll see the lights coming out the side of the collar's neck. You can almost see it behind it, but not like directly behind it, if that makes sense. So
Gotcha.
I don't know what the range of visibility is, whether it's 270 degrees or smart guy would probably figure out the degrees and be like, if I was selling them, I'd be like 270 degree visibility, blah, 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 blah. But it's just a lot better visibility. Like going from 180, you know what I mean? Seeing 180 degrees to I can start seeing to the side, and I wouldn't say 180 degrees. It'd probably be more like 75 degrees.
Oh yeah, they're not.
Yeah, because 90 degrees you don't see it, so you'd have to be either in front of it or, Anyway, so let's quit geeking out about
change
degrees.
the color on them.
Oh yeah, change the
Don't
color.
skip over that part. So instead of just having them bright white, if you want to tell different dogs, you can change the individual color of the tracer lights per dog.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Did we get what colors? But yeah, red, blue, yellow, whatever those standard LED colored lights can go to. Like magenta, I think.
Like red, blue, yellow, green.
Yeah, they don't do orange. I don't know why. There's some reason they don't do orange. Orange must be a non-natural color. It must be really hard to make orange with the three. It has a 3 lights like the RGB or whatever.
Right.
There's some reason orange doesn't come across with those color palettes. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I wish there was orange because I like an orange color. Shy don't get a match. So Della's red, so I got red lights with the red collar. I got Andy's blue, so her collar's flash blue. I got
OCD dream, right?
Green, so Shelby's green.
You can match those with the new antennas.
Yeah,
you could have a completely color coded OCD approved.
Yeah,
dog.
But Shy don't get no orange blink. Shy gets the yellow blink, which is kind of like a half-ass.
Take some paint, some the model paint, put it over them things, and turn them on bright white. Then you got orange.
So, anyways, yes, you can change the colors. I honestly will probably start using those lights more. That I can do that, and if they work to the side, and I don't know why. Probably because it's just a feature. But I found that I like to use them a little bit more than I did on the TT15s. So
Yeah. Well, they're better.
Okay, I'm just going through our list here. Dynamic trapping, collar lights, collar Wi-Fi, sleep mode. Yes, they have sleep mode.
Does it work?
I don't know.
I don't know. Jury's out on that one.
It will. We just need to keep working on it. Custom. Oh, the straps, dude. We'll just touch on that real quick.
Like the actual D-ring
collar straps. If you ever pull one out of a mini collar or a TT15X, it's difficult. We were like, please, please, Garmin, make a little more room in the little slots where the strap goes through. And if you've changed straps, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't changed straps or you use the thin Garmin ones, you don't know what I'm talking about. But really difficult to, whenever we're like, hey, could you get the serial number off that collar?
Yeah, like, right.
It's right behind the strap. Little things like that. So they came to us and they asked for little feedback, and that's one that we were like, hey, by the way, can you give us a little more tolerance for putting these straps on? Because we have reflective straps and thicker straps that are a little thicker collar straps that, especially the minis. Man, the minis are really difficult to get started. So we got that. It'll be a 1-inch strap is what these are going to take. You can run a mini strap on them, but they do have a little bit of
little play
gap there. So, if you can run a 1-inch strap, that's going to make it look better if you're OCD. Extended life battery.
Out the collar. You started with some good negatives, but I feel like
we start negative and end positive.
Well, I'd rather start that way because that's how the phone calls are going to start.
Yeah.
We'll get ahead of it.
Yeah, you ever listen to the front part of this podcast? Yeah, I listen to that podcast. I want to stay away from those callers, man.
Listen to the whole thing.
Only listen to the first 10 minutes, and I'm not getting those callers. One thing on your list is the extended life battery. So if you replace a battery on a TT15, I mean, any collar up to now, when you pull it off, you got that little tiny white connector. You got to have freaking eyeglasses to figure out which way that connector gets connected on. Tweezers, little pliers. Try not to pull on the wires and break the wires, blah, 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 blah. It's a pain in the ass. With these collars, it's the 6 screws on the outside. So it's not quite like the old Tritronics. I mean, we were hoping for like a sealed battery kind of deal, but we didn't get that. But it really just slides apart. And it has a couple like alignment pins, so it just slides. Once you get it aligned, it slides together. You know what I mean? Again, pogo pin style connector for the battery. It's not pogo pin on those, but it's like I don't even know what the type of connector is, but it's maybe 6 different pins that line up to a connector.
Oh.
But the nice thing is there's bigger alignment pins that won't let you connect until the battery housing and the motherboard are perfectly aligned before it lets you start sliding it together.
So you can't damage it.
Yeah.
Well, it helps prevent damage.
But you got to act. Yeah. Hound guys are going to break shit anyways. But like for the most part, as long as you're not like Neanderthal, just like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
As my dad would say, don't force it, you'll break it.
Don't force it.
You force it, you'll break it. If you don't force it, no problems. I'm going to give you a tip. When you do it, me and a couple of the other guys that are testing all had the gasket, that little silicone gasket that they use to seal and keep the water out. It stayed on the board part, so I pulled my old battery off, the standard battery I pulled off, and I didn't realize that the red gasket stayed on the board, right? Oh. So I took my extended life battery, and I was so enthralled, and this is what I told Garmin, I was so enthralled with the alignment, right? It's almost like those magic tricks where you get you to look over here while they do something over there.
Right.
That's what kind of happened was I was so focused on making sure this thing aligned and how it was going to align and how it was going to work. And so when you're doing this, just keep in the back of your mind, what's happening is you don't notice that the gasket's still on there. And so now you're double gasketing it, right? And I don't know what caught me, but I was like, oh shit, what was that? And I backed off and I was like, oh crap, it has a gasket on it. If I wasn't really super careful, I wouldn't have caught that. And so, and like I explained, I don't know what they'll do. If they'll do anything, they probably won't, like maybe a warning sign or whatever, but I'm just giving people the warning now. If you replace a battery, you're going to be focused on the alignment so much that you're not looking at some of the details that you got to look at, which is the gasket and
Sure.
and not paying attention, because that gasket was just staying on the board and it looked perfect. I mean, it was just like stuck there, like it was supposed to be there. It didn't look out of place, but it wasn't until I was almost ready sliding together. And I don't know what would happen if I put two gaskets on it. The other thing is one of the holes. Just be careful with the screws. I put one of the holes in the wrong spot, and I was close to stripping it out. And I don't know if they're going to fix that. I don't know if they did fix that, but there's 6 screws on the outside. Well, there's 6 screws on the outside. There's one screw that goes to cover the antenna screw, to replace the VHF antenna. And I think that's one of the screws that I tried to put I don't know if it was a long screw in or something, but basically I kind of half-ass threaded through the plastic. So just be careful with that. So whenever you do the screws and you do the things, just I don't know if they are going to fix it. They got some feedback. It's not an easy fix. They might keep it the same. Those are just 2 points that I'm like, dude, just be careful. Those are the 2 things you want to be careful of. You're not damaging it. I put the screw in the wrong hole. I didn't damage it, but I could tell that I was starting to cross thread the plastic housing, and I was like,
oh,
so just be careful, and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just one screw you could put in the wrong hole, and it didn't damage anything, but I'm like, man, if this would have been any longer, it could have screwed into the board and done something. But so it's just one of those things that I don't like cross threading. I've cross threaded enough shit in my life that I want to cross thread. Now I see why my dad used to get pissed at me when I was a kid working on a car. He's like, stop, what the freaking you're doing? Quit doing that.
My buddy always told me cross thread was better than Loctite. Like, yep. Go till it gets loose and then back her off a quarter turn.
Google helicoil. That's all I'm going to say, man. Helicoil.
If you feel like cussing for an hour.
Yeah, I taught my dad taught me about a helicoil. He's like, and he's like, and I don't want to use these, by the way. Could you please stop doing this?
That's a rough lesson.
He was not as nice as I was. So, yeah, anyways.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good overview of the collar, though.
Yeah. But yeah, they're good. There's the antennas. You got the short antenna. You got the long antenna. Garmin's coming out with an even shorter antenna. I like running it for Sadie around the yard. Less range. Most of our customers are not going to like it, so I'm not even going to talk a lot about it. But it's like 12 inches or something. It clips up. It stays so that I like it on Sadie because when around the she goes with me, and she'll wear this collar. It doesn't have an antenna sticking out. And if you ever bring a dog to town where you're like, oh, you just got a lap dog. What is it about old men and lap dogs now?
I don't know.
Laura was telling me, she's like, all these old hound guys all got a little dog with them.
Well, you got a truck dog.
Yeah, like a truck dog.
Everybody's got a truck dog.
I'm like, I couldn't argue it because I got Sadie and she's my little truck dog.
I don't know a hound guy that doesn't have like a, truck dog kicking around. That's why I got Trigger out here, man.
Yeah.
You see off game, you let him chase it.
Right. Well, like for my truck dog, I like that short antenna. It doesn't get in my face, and I don't get a lot of questions from people when we're out at the snow park, wherever, you know what I mean? Like she could run around and everything's nice and tight in a circle. It's not got this antenna sticking out, and it gets good enough range for me to find her. It's not the range I would run on a hound. You know what I mean? Like
what about like our tough skins? The new ones, are they going to be compatible with these 25s?
Yes. Yeah, everything's the same.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're good. Same antennas. So that's a new antenna the Garmin will have, which will be a short one. Most 99% of our customers won't care about that short one. I would not wear that short one on a hound when I'm hunting. Like I got no desire to wear it for hunting. The only thing I like about it is when I want to go incognito. When I want my dog not to get a million questions about her collar. She's cute enough as it is. She doesn't need to be sporting jewelry around.
Right.
Especially when it's a super secret collar. I'm like, hey.
You $550 super secret collar.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, man. All right. That's the collars. We're at an hour. We hadn't even gotten to the 300.
I know. But that's a big thing, too.
So we're going to dive into the 300 and
300
we'll just keep this thing rolling. 300i, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite feature because I know what you're going to say, other than the charging port?
Charging port.
I knew you were going to say that. tell them why you love the charging port.
USB-C. You can plug that in backwards. It don't matter.
But he got what he wanted. He's happy.
Yes. Finally, Garmin listened. Like,
he is smiling. For you guys that can't hear it, he is smiling about that port. He's like, finally got it.
It only took like 5 years. I'm like,
no kidding.
Yeah, USB-C charging port. The sad part is I've gotten used to it already. Like, I'm like, oh, it was my favorite feature, and I'm already like, yeah, whatever. I'm over it. Garmin's probably like, hey, you need a little more enthusiasm around here.
You can plug this thing in bouncing down the road. You can plug it in blind, in the dark. You can do it wherever.
Yeah. Yeah, the charging port, going to the USB-C just makes sense. A lot of it's the same. It looks, I guess we can start with the negatives.
Well, no, you already started with it looks the same. So
I'll start with. I'll go with there's not too many negatives. Price, will be $100 more, and it looks almost exactly the same as a 200. And I think there's good reason for that.
And what's the price point on it?
$100 more.
Perfect.
You're not.
Garmin's just keeping round numbers here.
Exactly. There's not a cycle that Garmin's not like, I wonder if we can get a little more. There you go. Not gonna lie. We all knew that was coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they bumped the price up.
But again, there are a couple of things. There's not a ton of difference, really, but there are some things that are pretty handy.
Yeah. So same battery, same casing. To the fact that the casing, like, you wouldn't. Mine is in a 200 case, basically, right?
With 300 guts.
Yeah. Mine's a screwed up one because it's like in a 200. It's a 200 case with a 200i screen, and not a screen, but the little black thing. You know, the label says 200i, but I'm like, there's no inReach button, so you know it's not. It's just these parts that they built, but it fits in the same mold. I don't know, because we have some meetings. You know, I gotta be careful what I say, but there's normally a few of us that help give input to Garmin, and some of the discussion is why does it look the same? You know what I mean? Like, this thing should look different. And some people were saying, for the purpose of selling, it's easier. You know what I mean? Like, if I go hunting with you, which I'm just not, like we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, I'm not a good salesman. So I'm like, I don't give a shit about selling stuff.
Right.
Really, I do. I'm like, secretly, I do. But
please do.
But yeah, we can pay people. But I'm hardcore anti-salesman to the point where I'm like, if there's one thing, you can call me an asshole, you can call me a jerk, you can call me a lot of things. But if you want to hurt my feelings, you call me a salesman. Like, that's below the belt. But they were saying that, like, just having something new. If this thing was green, which I always thought, I like the two. Or like,
yeah, make that thing green.
Yeah, but then people will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's the new 300." You know, it gives you a reason to talk, and kind of the guys that like to have the new stuff, and then it makes people want the new stuff. And 100%. Yes, that's what happens. And so maybe Garmin changes it, because there was some discussions. For me, it's like, dude, when a guy calls me and goes, I got a Garmin Alpha, and I'm like, well, which one do you got? I don't know. It's black. It's got 3 buttons on the front, and You know what I mean? The
Right.
only way for us to tell the difference is to flip off the battery cover and look at the serial number, or look at the small. That's a problem. So that was my feedback. Was like, dude, I would like some way to be like,
Identifying factors.
yeah, do you got an orange stripe across the bottom? You know what I mean? Or do you have a, like I told him, I was like, I don't care if you replace the battery cover, and made it
Right.
red,
Some identifying
stripe,
marks.
some tiger stripe. I don't care. You know what I mean? Something different. That was my feedback. Those other people are like, I want the front, maybe the front could be orange or something, so that whenever you're using it, people know you got a, new 300, and we'll sell more of them that way. And I was like, well, I don't really care about selling more, but I would like an easy way when I love you
When
guys.
you're doing tech
I really
support.
do. Listening to the customers that are listening now, I really do love you. Didn't mean I sound like it, but I'm like, these are some dumb guys that are just like, I don't know what it is. I got an Alpha, and it's a DC-30, and I'm like, well, the Alpha doesn't talk with the DC-30, sir. So
Sometimes you got to walk it through. Like you said, what are the buttons? Do you have side buttons? Do you have this? Is it this color? Like,
yeah. So from that point, it's like, guys don't get into the model numbers. Like, I got a 300 or a 300i, or I got a TT15 or TT15X. And so we're getting these confusing things that people are like, oh, I got a TT15. And then we get it, and it's like, oh, you had a TT15X. And I wish I would have known that, because, or you got the mini version. And it's like, we could have fixed this. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just sometimes having things look too much similar has been painful for us. And not because I want to sell more, but because troubleshooting is different. So hopefully they do some changes. They were saying maybe a midstream change. So maybe there's an early version that's the black ones, and maybe they'll come out with a new color scheme on some plastic pieces. I don't know. It's up for the jury. You know what I mean? But don't be surprised if that happens sometime down the road. If I had to guess, with the history of Garmin, it won't. But I don't think they'll. I think they'll get comfortable with this change, and some mid-level to high-level bean counter is gonna make the decision not to, and us little hound guys get overlooked. So I think that's what's gonna happen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll come out with
But I mean, that's good
face.
for the guys wanting to upgrade from the 200 or 200i to the 300 or 300i.
Yeah.
That means screen protectors are the same, right?
Yep, screen protectors are the same. Cases are
Soft
the same.
covers.
Batteries are the same.
Kydex
Antennas are the
holsters.
same. Kydex holsters are the same. All of the accessories are the same.
That's nice.
So here's a little inside piece that if I had to guess, the Alpha 200 was slated to be much more of a long-term product. Meaning, I think when that came out in COVID and all the issues they had, they were like trying to make parts. So they're like, we got a bunch of these parts. You know what I mean?
Already pre-ordered or whatever.
Already pre-ordered. And then when they got them and people didn't like the maps and the battery life and the things they fixed on the 300.
Those were next on my list.
Yeah. So they fixed some things, and they were like, we still got a crap load of parts for 200s. And so it was one of them deals that I think it's too much of a change to be a 200 change, but I think they got a lot of parts that they need to burn up, and so they made the economic decision not to throw those away, but to use them in this part. And the first thing that gives me that kind of a hint is on the screen. It just says Alpha. So whereas before it'd be like Alpha 200, and then there's Alpha 200i,
right?
And now it's just like Alpha. So I'm like, you know what that means?
They're planning for the future.
We're gonna stop putting because if you think about it, they like even on the 200 or the 200i, the supply chain details of that is like, well, we got all these parts to make this, but we only got the little screens that say Alpha 200i. I don't have the ones that say Alpha 200.
You gotta get the Sharpie.
And so now they're like, well, yeah, exactly. If it was W show, we'd be like,
Sharpies are 50 cents a piece, man. That's the best ROI.
But if you're Garmin, you're like, okay, so we got to go back through, make another 10,000 of those 200 screens, da 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 da. And so our 200 products just got completely shut down off the product build because we don't have screens that say Alpha 200. We got 5,000 that say Alpha 200i,
Right.
but we don't got the ones that say 200. And so I think those are just decisions that I think those are lessons Garmin learned in this COVID era, that it was like, dude, don't put 300 on the screen piece. You know what I mean? Like, so we might have to make little stickers that are like 300, but you know, we still want some way to identify that it's a 300, but Garmin is like, those little details sometimes cost issues behind the scenes. When what we just came through with COVID, where it's like, what do you mean you're out? What do you mean you can't get them? And it could be something as simple as they can't get the manufacturer to make them. They ran out of those little plaque. If you look at it, if you have a 200 in your hand right now, all the listeners, and you look on the upper left corner, it says Alpha 200i. And again, I'm making this up. I'm not telling you what happened, but I'm saying some of the lessons learned through COVID are, they would run out of the 200s and they had 200i screens, but they couldn't build 200s because of that simple little problem. And now they're like, well, if we just say Alpha,
covered,
they could make an Alpha 200, because it's the same part for a 200, it's the same part for a 200i, it's the same part for a 300, it's the same part for a 300i. That sense. Part covers four products now, whereas before you needed 4 separate product pieces. So little things like that I look at and go, oh, that was a lesson. You know what I mean? Because I thought it was a mistake when I seen the pictures, because mine, like I said, mine's built in a 200 case, so mine's wrong. But I looked at the pictures and I'm looking at the product images and stuff, and I'm like, it just says Alpha there. And I was talking, actually talking to Mark, and I'm like, is that a mistake or is that intentional? And he's like, that's got, I think he was like, that's got to be a mistake. And he goes back, he goes, nope, that's intentional. I'm like, okay, there's a story. There's a story behind that. And so I'm making the story up myself, but I bet you there's some kind of truth to that. Yeah. When I think about it, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought about it before. I thought it was a mistake, but when I thought about it afterwards. So anyway, let's quit talking about just this.
That's big though. Yeah. So another one that stood out to me, and I know you had to explain it to me, the channel view scan, which once you explained it, that's one of the coolest things I think I've seen in a handheld.
Channel view scanning. So you can go into a section and it will scan and see what other Garmin colors and other interferences are out on the different channels. And so you'll have to look at our product page or whatever, but it shows you like channel 5 and shows you a scan of everything that so channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and channel 5. And it'll tell you how many people are using those channels. So if you're at a field trial, and it should be like 10 people using channel 1, 15 people using channel 2. You can kind of see where all the channels are being used. And then theoretically, you should be able to go, you click on that and it'll break it down to like channel 1 and all the different secondary channels, I guess. So there's frequency 1 and then the channels. And it's like I'm looking at channel 1 and there's nobody around me using them. So it's like channel 1, 0 is clear, 1 is clear, 1, 2 is clear. So I can look right now. I can almost use any channel that I want, and there's nobody here using it. When you're at a field trial, that's going to look way different. It's going to be like, oh yeah, maybe everybody's on channel 1 and nobody's on channel 5. And you can see that, and you'd be like, I'm switching my dogs to channel 5 so I don't got any interference.
And you're the only one tracking a dog.
Yeah. And so that's huge, especially for people that are having a lot of interference and working a lot of dogs. You know what I mean? Like if you got a lot of dogs, that just scans everything. So
yeah. The other thing we talked about was the map loading speed, and you said that it is surprisingly faster than an Alpha 200.
Yes. Although looking in side by side, I was like, am I really seeing, like, it is faster, but I couldn't prove it.
That makes sense. It does rebuild faster.
Yeah. So it does rebuild faster. But when I was side by side, it was definitely faster, right? But it was like half screen was hanging up on the 200, and my 200i was scrolling and keeping pretty clear screen. But I want to be cautious that I'm not overselling that feature, so that somebody gets one and goes like, "Man, this thing is not scrolling better." But
It's still so.
I have seen it scrolling faster. The map is better. It does function better.
Faster processing.
Faster processing. I'm just gonna stop short of trying to sell on that point, because
Okay.
I'm what I seen yesterday when I was trying to make a video to prove the point. The 200 was doing a pretty damn good job. So I honestly don't think it was a fact of it being slow. Like, I think the 300 was doing great. I think the 200 that I had, it wasn't logged up on memory. It wasn't tracking callers. It wasn't doing a bunch of things that caused that thing to slow down. And so my 200 my 200 that I was using as an example was freaking fast maps. And I'm like, this is not normal. You know what I mean? So I still think the 300 is better.
Right.
But my 200 was tuned up yesterday when I was going to shoot a video to prove
High
it.
octane.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this thing is working good.
Competition. Put it next to it. It's like, oh
Yeah.
crap, we got to look good so we don't get cold.
Yep. So I kind of think what I was looking at yesterday was a 200 working better than it normally works. My 300 was working normal, which I scrolled the maps. I was showing maps. I see no delays. But my 200 was not showing delays either. So
Gotcha.
I think it was there. On the menu, so the drag and drop. So now you can locate icons by pressing your finger and holding and sliding different things in different positions.
Like an iPhone.
Like an iPhone. You also, on the very bottom of the bar, you can put 4. So in the past, there's 2. There's like map and compass. Now you can drag other things to that bottom bar. So like, I always keep my dog list down there, so I can get to my dog list really easily. If users wanted to get to their inReach messages, you could probably drag the message, your message button down there, so you could always get to your messages quickly. So you
markers.
there's 4 spots there that you can use to have like a quick access to.
And that's in addition to your regular. I mean, the menu looks extremely similar to the 200, where you can still side swipe. You can still set up your main menu, but you can set up. Now you've got a combination. You have your whole menu, right? Your home menu.
Yep.
You can assign your training keys to specific actions still, and you can set up your hot buttons across the bottom.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's like a lot of presets you can do. So, I know we had talked before, Garmin, you said they were trying to make things within 3 selections, so you weren't having to dive deep into the menus. Like, literally, you can stack this up even just from your home screen. You got 4 icons there, you've got 4 in your menus, and you've got 3 programmable across the top. Like, the customability is pretty crazy.
Yep. So that's new. A big feature is battery life. Like, impressive battery life.
Way better.
I don't know. I'm going to say double. Like, I would use it and I'd have a 200, and my 200 at the end of the day, using very similar, was 35% battery, 40% battery at the end of the day. And the 300 was 75, 8, you know what I mean? Like, impressively better. Like, when you get below 50%, you're like, oh, I got to try, whenever you look at it, you're like, oh, 70%, I'm still good. You know what I mean?
Right.
It will, and I'll leave it on at night and it'll still be on in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, those types of things, they've done a really good job to get better battery life.
That's awesome.
So, hands down, the battery life alone is probably my other favorite feature. If you were to ask me my favorite feature, that would probably
Charging
USB-C
port.
I've gotten used to.
Then.
And the battery life. I messed on the 200. So when the 200 came out, the mapping was a big negative that a lot of people didn't like. The battery life, okay, the battery life, but the mapping was like probably the number one thing that was like, oh crap, you know what I mean? As far as feedback going from the 100 to the 200. And you were mentioning this, that the Alpha 100 maps were much brighter color.
Yeah.
That was something I don't use bird's eye very often, and so I kind of missed the boat on that. When they said, "Oh, the colors are," I was like, "Really?" And I feel bad because I tested it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, "Man, I wish we would have." Several of us were kind of like talking. I was like, "Damn, we kind of missed the boat on that." You know what I mean? We didn't catch that.
Right.
So the 300 is they've gotten that screen changed so they can get the brighter colors. So they used a different screen than what they did in the 200. The 200 they were limited on what colors they could get, how bright they could get it. Ironically, they were going for battery life on the 200, so they got neither battery life or a bright screen. With the 300, they got bright screen and a brighter colors. I'm not gonna say bright screen. It's very vibrant. Similar.
It's vivid. It's a vivid display.
I don't know if it's as vivid as the 100. You know what I mean? Like I want to be cautious that I'm not overselling, but it is a brighter green on the you know what I mean? So compared to a 200, yes, we're seeing brighter colors. And so that I'm just, because I got like an F on the Alpha 200 transition for screen brightness, you know what I mean? Like I'm giving myself like a fail. Like, yeah, I'm a little bit scared to be like, we might get, I don't know how round 2 is going to go. You know what I mean? People are going to, I'm sure they're going to let me know. But that was one of those, like when you're in a boxing ring, you get hit from the left. You're like, where'd that come from? Like, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah. I did not expect the brightness and colors of the screen of the 200, because it was really touted as like a bright screen, like an anti-glare screen. Mm-hmm. So we were all looking at the features in the sun, and you can read that thing so much better in the sun. And you know what I mean? So we go out in the sun and be like, oh man, it works much better, much better. What we missed was the low light conditions. So the 200 is hard to read in those early morning and late night. Not at night, not in the day, but in the transitionary periods. You know, when you first start in the morning, which is there's some hunting there. So with that said, I think this 300 is a lesson to be like, hey, we need this light, and this light. You know what I mean? Whereas the 200, we were focused on the problem of the 100, which was the glare. You know what I mean? Like you could not read that thing in the daylight. Like it was hard to read anything. And so you hyper focus on fixing the glare problem, which Garmin did a great job on with the 200. And you dropped the ball on this other thing. And I was a part of that ball getting dropped. And so with that said, I'm just scared. I'm just a little scared. I'm scared. I'm not going to lie. Don't beat me up too hard. If we miss that one again, I'm gonna be like, I give up.
I give.
No screen, man. All these guys that use bird's eye. So that brings us to probably our last point, which is the new mapping.
Which I would like to preface with, if you want some more detailed information about the mapping, when we're done here, there will be another episode launching shortly about maps.
Oh, we did do one, didn't we?
Did you forget? You were there, buddy.
I forgot.
You drove the ship. You did that. Like, this is what it's like, people. Just so you all know what it's like. We've been throwing jokes back and forth all day about the process of things and remembering stuff. Yes, there is another episode, buddy, about maps.
I'm glad I got my sweatshirt off right now. It'd be really hot right now. Is it hot in here? Like, shit, we did do that. I forgot.
Yeah, we did. Anyways, I've been sitting on it and waiting for this launch day.
So we're gonna cap just a short summary about maps because we're running up on the clock here, and but we did do you're right. We actually did do a podcast about bird's eye, and we talked about the
Outdoor Plus,
the Outdoor Plus maps that are coming out. But we also talked about why bird's eye was discontinued for the 100, and some of the Garmin probably be mad at me for that one too. I think I was pretty honest, but
No, it was good.
I think I covered. I think I covered. Anyways, so there'll be another podcast that we couldn't launch until after the 300 because we were talking about the 300 and the Outdoor Plus map. So,
Yeah.
Outdoor Plus, what customers need to know. Go with the negative, man. Like $50 a year. They're going to a subscription model.
Yep.
It's going to be $50 a year for the subscription. Basically, download Bird's Eye. You get other maps on there. There's a lot of different stuff with that Outdoor Plus. They're really trying to make it more, comprehensive. I'm pretty sure, I don't know 100%, but I do think that if you don't pay the subscription, you don't get those maps later when it expires.
I confirmed that. So
You did?
the subscription is for 1 year,
Okay.
and it is your ability to download, but even downloaded information after your year's subscription is done, it goes away. Unlike Bird's Eye of the past.
Okay.
Where once you downloaded it and it was yours for the life of your unit, now it's a $50 a year, $49.99 access fee through Garmin. And that's the only place you can get the subscription, not through independent dealers.
That's what I thought. I was kind of worried about that. Like, for people who don't, if you need another reason to complain about money in Garmin, that is one. There it is. With that said, it is pretty handy. That's the way of the world, man. On X Maps, like a whole bunch of different companies are all going to the subscription model, which, on X, you're going to pay your $79 or $50 or whatever their fee is for the year.
Right.
Once you don't pay that fee, you don't get access to it. I think Garmin's trying to get into that subscription-based model because it's just yearly money for them. So even down to the point of like website developer shit. I hate the subscription model for the most part, but everybody's getting into it. So yeah, we can be pissed at Garmin. I'll agree it's not cool, but every business out there is trying to figure out how to do a subscription model.
Because they did do away with direct-to-device Bird's Eye on the 300.
We should do a subscription model, Jason.
You what?
What can we subscribe to? Like for W, like at $39.99 per year, you can be a customer.
Oh man, you could do like
we don't got anything good to offer.
Support.
We don't really got anything good to offer. I guess we got to figure out what we got to offer first, and then come up with the subscriptions. I want to do it the other way. I want to come up with a subscription first and offer the shit second. But apparently, we got to figure out what's good enough to make people want to buy our subscription. Anyways, so if you decide to go with a subscription of Outdoor Plus, you download the area directly, like on the 200. You get Bird's Eye. There's some quad mapping, which is like kind of like a paper map. It's a lot.
It's awesome, is what it is.
Yeah, it is cool. I think you can get like hunt view, like level hunt. I don't know if it has the property owner names or not, but you got to do some research, and we can. Did you check into that? See what the main benefits were? Like, did it have landowner names or not?
I didn't get that far into the weeds on it.
Okay, we'll have to figure some of that stuff out. Basically, Bird's Eye to get Bird's Eye. To get Bird's Eye, you're going to be at $49.99 a month, or I'm sorry, not a month, a year. And after the year's up, you can't use that map if you don't pay the year. So that's a negative, and I'm going to post it as a con. But if that's what you use, just understand that, you can use it on your cell phone. I mean,
it's multiple, like one account, but you can use it for your handheld and for your mobile device, which I thought was a nice touch.
I don't think it will work for two handhelds. So I think you got to pay the $50. So I think Garmin's smart enough to go, I got one. Here, Jason, just put mine on yours.
Yeah, here. Thanks a lot, Netflix.
Yeah, I don't think only you can do that.
Give me a login.
It does. If you have it on your Alpha, you can use it on your phone and your Garmin Explorer, the app that goes with it. But I don't think if you have two Alpha 300s, I think you'd have two subscriptions. save that for last. That way we end on a. So we talk about the negatives in the beginning, and we talk about the negatives at the end.
There you go.
We just leave people depressed. Honestly, once you go to a 300, you won't go back.
I'm excited. I'm waiting anxiously.
I think this would have been a better. I wish this would have been the 200 release. You know what I mean? Like we and there were some things that I was more excited about the 200 in the beginning. A little more. I don't say. It was humbling. You know what I mean? Maybe because we're so used to the 100 that I got used to all the problems of the 200. And I told people, so if you're going from a 200 to a 300, you're awesome. You're gonna have no problem. Done. Anybody that's going from a 100 to a 300, and this is what I told damn near my best friend. You know, I mean, I was talking to Don one time. This is when he's going to 200. He's like, I want one of them 200s. I said, Don, here's the deal. I'm going to send you a 200. I don't want you to call me for a week. If you go, okay,
block.
Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't try to tell me about this 200. Don't ask me how to use it. I don't want to hear from you for a week. The point where that shit's delivered, we are no longer on communicating terms for a whole week. Like, I don't care if your dog dies. I'm like,
That's
call me in a
awesome.
week. You told me I'll come help you bury it later. Don't call me.
And you're still friends.
Yeah, this is why we're friends, because he knows. I'm like, and I said, after a week, if you don't like it, you can take it. I'll take it back and give you back to 100. But it's like, you're going to hate it the first week. And that's what I'm going to tell somebody, is if you're going from a 100 to a 300 and you're going to expect to be in love, this isn't like a first date where you're all in La La Land. I mean, this is like dating your third ex-wife. You're like, oh yeah, she was
there's guys
really good
right
for
now.
these things, but you got to go through a bunch of the bad stuff first. Like, I'm just going to tell you, it's frustrating.
You know how many ride in cup holders and in center consoles? Because guys are like, I just get frustrated and I just use my 100. But they have it. It's still there.
And that's the other thing I said. I said, you need to put your 100 away.
Yep.
You have to force yourself to use the 300 or the 200 at the time, I was telling him. But I said, if you don't, you will not enjoy it. You're going to be split between two things. And it's like, it's not like ripping the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? Like, you just need to rip the Band-Aid off. You need to jump in the boat. You need to use it, get used to it. And once you do that, a lot of guys won't go back. And I will say, more than some than I would have thought are like, nope, screw that. I want the 100 back.
Yeah, there was a few.
Yeah, so there's definitely some people that are like, nope, I tried that. I did what you said, and I still don't like it. And they went back to the 100. And we're, it is what it is. Some guys are just sold on that 100. The truth is at some point in time, those 100s are discontinued. We're not going to get any more. They don't have any choice. Like, they're 300 or bust at some point. So either buy extras and be that guy. So anyway, so that's what I'm gonna tell you. If you're coming from a 200 to a 300, no problem. This is going to be like, you're really going to appreciate the improvements. If you're coming from a 100 and you're upgrading 100 to 300, just realize, don't call me. I don't want to hear you. You can. I'm joking.
They're not Don. They can call. Yeah. Call me.
You have to put that 100 away. You have to force yourself to use the 300, and you're going to hate it for a little while. And then you'll start to learn it, and it'll start to grow on you. And my guess is after a month, if I offered you back to the 100, you're going to be like, no, I like it. So but if I asked you in the first day, you're going to be like, how?
Overnight that thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest deal, is they're so different. Using the buttons are different. How you program the buttons are different. It's just whatever. So did we cover our list, Jason?
Yeah, no, we hammered all of it out.
I'm looking
with some extra negatives in there that you added. Yeah. So that was.
I'm good at that. I mean,
it's better to be honest about it. People are already frustrated. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's real. That's for sure. I mean, we could be sales pitchy. You can order these by calling us at 855-384-8687.
Is there anything I can help you guys with today? Would you like to take it?
Or visit us at www.dusupply.com.
Yeah, that's what you're here for. I got to get ready to go. We're taking off to.
You're leaving.
Yeah, my daughter has a little dance competition in Utah that we're gonna.
Don't call it little in front of your daughter.
It's a big dance.
It's a dance recital, not little. When you put little in front of it, it does bad things.
I'm helping them make some shirts for their dance studio.
Yeah.
I was talking with Laura, and I was joking with Tyler. I was like, dude, I want one that's got the glitter, like the sparkle shimmer. It's like the Hound Girl shirt,
Dad.
Yeah, you got those yeah, exactly, Dance Dad. But I wanted it in the sparkle, and I'm like, on the back of it, I want to be like, the only time is acceptable to wear sparkle. What I mean? And Laura's like, I don't know if you can do that nowadays. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I
You can do
can.
anything you want nowadays and get away with it.
I'll put Bud Light logo right next to below it and have an X crossed out on it. I don't give a damn.
Oh man,
that Bud Light deal is definitely hurting sales. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, or we didn't. But did I tell you about Dan's bar?
no.
That we didn't talk about it on the podcast, did we?
So we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah, we're done.
This is
done.
a major derailment.
We should probably just hang up now, but we'll just let them hear this last little bit. So
if you get offended,
we can get
hang
canceled.
up.
My buddy Dan owns a bar, and he was like
Prairie
Tavern. If you're in town, go
in
see
Battleground, Washington.
No, it's Brush Prairie.
Brush Prairie. Well, give the guy a sales pitch. He's your best buddy. Jeez, buddy.
Prairie Tavern. Ask for the owner so you can get. No, I'm just.
He plays Dukes of Hazzard on the big screen.
Yeah.
That's what I saw last time I went in there. That's where
He's
I go.
got the
anytime I
General
come
Lee.
to town.
Sometimes he'll park the General Lee out there. I'm like, dude.
He does have an awesome. That was in our
Yeah.
April Fool's video.
Yeah,
This is the
he's-
guy. So if y'all remember back, April Fool's video, was it 2 years ago? The Reputation.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is Dan. This was my buddy in the scenes with the General Lee.
Yeah. So, anyways, they ended up buying a place called Prairie Tavern, and I was talking to him or something like, "Hey, what are your Bud Light numbers?" Because I was just curious. You read this on the news, but you're like, "Is it really that bad?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's dropped off." And so his wife Shauna was running the report. He was running the report. I was on the phone, and they're like, "We sold 43 the week," because they don't sell a lot of Bud Light, right? So they're like,
Before they
Yeah.
didn't sell a bunch of Bud
they don't
Light.
sell any now. But it was like 43 for the week before. Because we're up here a little bit yuppie. Everybody drinks these
Micro brews.
whatever. I don't drink, so I don't know what they are. But anyways, so he's like, yeah, 43 the first week. It was 37 the week that it happened. You know what I mean? Because it happened like at the end of the week. And he's like, I think they said they sold 3 the next week. It was like 3. Like,
Well, he does sell good alternatives. There's Coors Light, not to sales pitch it, but if y'all are looking for a podcast to sponsor, Mike supports your company. Like
yeah, exactly. I told Dan, I go, man, you're gonna have to have like a closet special or something on that stuff. Like,
stop it.
hey, drink that shit in the
And with
closet.
that, we're gonna cose this one out.
All right,
We
man.
can't
It was
trust
good.
you with anything.
Double Shoes got canceled. We just got. It was a good last run. It was a good last run.
If you
Garmin's
don't
probably
hear
like,
from us, just give us a call. You know what happened.
shit. I didn't even think about it. It's hot.
The
Garmin's probably
FCC
like,
won't let me be.
you guys, you can't do that on our podcast. We're talking about the 300, and you guys can't bring those
You
types
guys,
of things.
yeah, you guys, you.
Me. It was me. You cancel, buddy. Cancel. I'm gonna fire myself. I'm gonna
No, you're not. You can't fire yourself.
All right, Jason. Let's wrap this one up.
All
See
right.
if-
Thanks, bud.
yeah.